with us. Hi, Carolyn. It's Chris from Heyo. Are you there? Hey, Carolyn, you're unmuted. Are you there? Okay, it looks like Carolyn's microphone is not connected. Let's see if we can say hi to one or two other folks here before we get started. Let me see if I can say hi to Jenny. Looks like Jenny's joining us from British Columbia. Hi, Jenny. It's Chris with Heyo. Are you there? Jenny, you're unmuted. Are you there? No. Looks like Jenny's microphone's not connected either. We'll try one or two more folks here. All right, let me see if I can grab Hank here. We've got Hank here joining from Iowa. All right, Hank, it's Chris with Heyo. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Hank, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Did you know you were going to be part of the webinar today?
No, I didn't. But
well, we just wanted to say hi real quick before we get started. So you're joining from Iowa?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. And it says that you have an outdoor furniture website. Could you tell us a little bit more about the business?
Yeah, I've had it going for about 8 months now, and right now I'm just really getting into the marketing. So waiting for the season to come around for it a little bit.
Yeah, I guess we've got a foot of snow outside, so probably you're waiting for folks to start thinking about being outdoors again.
Yeah, it was 12 below zero here this morning.
There you go.
So
now,
yeah.
So are you entirely an online business, Hank?
Yeah.
Awesome. And do you just ship all over the U.S. or internationally?
Just stay within the continental U.S. Yeah.
Awesome.
That'll change as things progress, but
yeah, I'm sure. Well, that's great. And one more question for you: is there something in particular as we think about best practices and strategies for running a good campaign? Is there something in particular you're hoping to learn today?
To be honest, I am totally new to this.
Awesome.
So everything that you're saying is just being absorbed like a sponge.
Awesome. That's great, Hank. Wow, that's a lot of pressure. We're gonna do our best to live up to that. No, that's great. Well, listen, you're in the right place. This is, I think, the perfect webinar for but especially brand new to running these types of campaigns. I think this will be good for you. So I hope you enjoy it. I might unmute you later just to check in and see how I'm doing. Is that okay, Hank?
That's perfectly fine. No problem.
Awesome. All right, awesome. Great to have Hank and everybody else here with us as well. We've had a lot of other folks check in. We've got Rosemary here. We've got Karen. Hey, Karen, who we know very well. I would say Karen is a power user of Heyo. We've got Therese here from Marin County, California. We've got Caitlin here, who's a success coach. Awesome. So we've got lots of great people who are tuned in as well. I want to take a moment and introduce one of my colleagues here from Heyo, Jay Tucker, who joins me on the webinar today also.
Hey folks, thanks for joining in. We're excited to have you here, and hopefully we get some good information for you to get running some really successful contests for your business.
Awesome. Jay is really an expert. He works with all of our biggest clients here at Heyo, with lots of our agency clients, and you've seen a lot of these campaigns run, haven't you?
Quite a few. Lots of different industries, and we've seen it all, so pretty exciting here.
Cool. Awesome. So Jay and I today are going to be spending some time with you guys, talking you through some of these best practices, and our goal is to help you guys learn as much as you possibly can in the next, we'll say about an hour we'll probably spend with you, although we can certainly hang on a little longer if there are lots of good questions. But our goal is to help you guys learn as much as we can in this hour about how to run a really successful social media campaign, a Facebook campaign. And in particular, I think one of the things we've learned is, there are a lot of little things to get right, or a lot of little things you can do to really kind of boost the performance of your campaign. Make sure that as many people as possible are seeing it, as many people as possible are opting into your campaign and engaging with your business on Facebook. And so we're going to share a lot of those tips with you guys today. Right here, as we're about to get started, let me ask one more time for those of you who are just joining us to take a moment and just let us know directly in the GoToWebinar questions where you're joining from and what type of business you're in. That would be really great. We love learning more about you guys. I also want to just introduce one other member of the team here as well who's also joining us, although you guys will be reading from him more than you'll be hearing from
Unmuted.
Alex Shammy. Alex, are you there?
I sure am, Chris. Thank you. It is so awesome to be on this webinar. I'm seeing so many familiar names from back in the day. I see Kate Moore, Alan Simpson, Brian Park, so many people I've talked to in the past. It's awesome to have everybody live today.
Awesome. Alex, it's great to have you with us. I think for speaking for the three of us, Jay, Alex, and myself, doing these webinars, especially for our customers like this one today, this is probably one of the most favorite things we get to do here at Heyo, is just spend some time with you guys. We're all part of the Heyo family here, get a chance to learn more about our platform, and share some things that we learned and just have a really good conversation. Alex is going to be
Muted.
spending some time answering your questions. We're going to do our best, Jay and I, to answer your questions as we go. But Alex is going to be behind the scenes typing away with his furious fingers to try to pick up as many questions that we don't get to. So thanks so much to Alex for joining us also. Awesome. So here we go, guys. We're going to go ahead and get started. You are in the right place for today's exclusive webinar only for Heyo customers called Best Practices and Tactics for Running a Successful Facebook Campaign. Hopefully you guys can all hear me clearly and see my screen, and you should see the title slide for today's webinar. If you guys wouldn't mind just letting me know if you can see my screen and hear me clearly, that would be great. Just pop in a big yes with an exclamation point if you can see my slides and hear me clearly. All right, good. Thomas, Jackson, Hillary, Troy, Ashley, Hank, Mike, Doug, Nicholas. Okay, good. Everybody can hear us just fine. Awesome. All right, Jay, you ready to get started?
Let's do it.
All right. So guys, we're going to go ahead and get started on today's topic. So I'm going to start out by just talking for a moment about Heyo. So there's a lot you can do with Heyo and lots of different types of campaigns that you can run. And, when for Facebook campaigns, Jay would probably take all day to go through all the different kinds of campaigns, maybe even longer, and talk about the best practices for each one. So I think what we want to do is we're going to spend most of our time today talking about one specific type of campaign and the best practices for running that campaign. So Jay, let me put you on the spot here for a second. If you had to pick one type of campaign to kind of zero in on that would be potentially the most applicable for everyone on the line, granted, we don't know everyone personally, we don't know the ins and outs of their businesses, certainly, what would be that one campaign you'd want to review with them? What do you think?
Yeah, so I'd say the one goal that everyone has in mind is growing their business, so bringing in more revenue for the business, and be to focus on the sweepstakes template under the contest templates because that's a great way to collect email leads and grow the business.
Okay, good. That was the right answer. Did we prearrange that question, Jay?
We did not.
Okay.
Sounds like it.
But I knew you were gonna answer the sweepstakes campaign. So we're gonna spend today focused on the sweepstakes, sometimes called the giveaway campaign, and we're gonna highlight our sweepstakes template and best practices for running that campaign really, really well. Now, that campaign, just to give you guys a little bit of information, is and actually let me take a moment and let's actually get visual here. When we say the sweepstakes campaign, you should be seeing my web browser now. So let's go ahead and create a brand new campaign. So when we say sweepstakes campaign, I'm going to click Run a Social Contest right here from the Heyo editor. Right here at the top is the sweepstakes. This is the template that we're going to be going through best practices for today. Now, one of the reasons, and I have a feeling I can speak for Jay here as well, one of the reasons, probably the biggest reason we think this is the best one to kind of zero in on, it's by far our highest converting campaign. I would say, to give you guys an idea, I would say a fair average conversion rate for this campaign would be about 20%. So we see this campaign generally converted around 20% higher. And when I say convert, I mean if we can get 100 consumers to view your campaign landing page and 20 of them enter their email address, that's what I mean when I say a 20% conversion rate. That's how we measure success for your campaign here at Heyo. So this is the campaign we're going to be zeroing in on today. However, all the other campaigns that you can run with Heyo, you're going to learn a lot about best practices that really apply across all of those campaigns. Hopefully you guys are, all know, why would you want to run a contest or a Facebook campaign? Well, the reason is they convert. As I just said, that sweepstakes campaign converts very well. It's a great way to, exactly as Jay said, build your email list so that you can then in turn, extend your brand with those customers, sell to those customers, and grow your business. Okay, so let's dive right in, and let's start with the first, round of best practices here, and that has to do with before you even start your campaign. This has to do with actual planning and prep. So it's really tempting, I know, once you get a cool new tool like Heyo, to want to just dive in and just start building your campaign right away, and we want you to do that too. We've worked really hard to make the platform easy to use. I'd recommend taking like a step back and just taking a few moments to actually do a little bit of planning. So the first thing is, take some time to identify who is your target audience for this campaign. Now you know your business really well. I bet if Jay or I asked you, who your ideal customer is or who your target customer is, you guys would probably have a really good sense of that. I think it's really healthy to take a step back and make yourself go through this exercise of identifying your target audience. So there are two things that you want to do when you're thinking about your target audience. The first thing to identify is who are they? And when I say who are they, I mean what are the facts about your target audience? We call these demographics. Where are they? Are they in a specific geographic area? Are they male or female? Are they young or old? Or a better way to put that, are they young or not so young? Slightly less young? Are they you get the idea. Who are they? What are the facts, right? So Jay, why do you think it might be important to identify the demographics of who your target audience is?
Yeah, so the reason why it's so important to identify your target audience is because that's how you're going to be able to pick the right prize. And
Right.
Picking the right prize, as you know, and a lot of you probably know that are listening in, is key for making leads. So you could give away something that doesn't pertain to your target audience at all, and you're going to get tons of leads, giving away something like an iPad maybe, but you want to actually convert those leads into sales. So even if you might get less leads with something that pertains more to your audience, those are going to be better for you down the road.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's exactly spot on. So as we move on here, while we talk a little bit about the next step, why don't you guys take some time and how would you describe, in the GoToWebinar questions, just in a few words, how would you describe your target customer right now, demographically? Do you know where they are? Do you know who they are, how old they are, what gender they are? What are the facts of your target customer? Tell us a little bit about it so we can, we can get a sense of that. Okay, cool. So those are the demographics. Psychographics are also really important. Psychographics is that's a $3 word, Jay, right? Psychographics. Basically, the way I describe psychographics is if demographics is who are they, psychographics is what do they care about. You might know exactly where they are, what gender they are, what age range they are. Are they health conscious? Do they have children? Are they family minded? Do they care about the environment? Are they religious? Understanding kind of what your target audience cares about, that's part of knowing your target customer. So we've got, Carolyn has said here, USA, within the USA, female teachers, elementary school teachers want to save time. Ashley said we're a bookstore, so 18 to 24-year-old male and female Ohio State students. Awesome, Ashley, I love that because that's a nice tight target. So, really the main reason, just to kind of round out planning, Jay, you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said this is about being able to identify the right prize, right, and the right incentive. And so that's exactly right. The other piece of planning you want to make sure you hit really, really well before you actually put the campaign together is picking the right prize. And this is really, really important. You want to make sure you pick something that is relevant to that target customer, but you also want to make sure you pick something that is really exciting for that target customer as well. So, the example that I use a lot is, well, let me take a step back first and say that a lot of businesses kind of fall into giving away their own product or service as their prize. So, and that's sometimes a good idea, but that's not necessarily always a good idea. So let me turn to Jay again and say, Jay, or ask, do you agree with that, Jay? First of all, if not, that's perfectly fine. But do you agree with that? And if so, why or why not? Is giving away your own product or service a good idea or not? And how should we think about that?
Yeah, so like you already said, there are some times where that works, sometimes where it doesn't work. One of the big reasons why we suggest not always giving away your product or service is because of the fact that that could almost devalue your brand. So that's one thing to take into consideration. But at the end of the day,
well, let me interrupt you. What do you mean?
Go ahead.
What do you mean devalue the brand?
So if you're giving away something for free, maybe they think it's not worth as much as what you're charging, possibly.
Got it.
There are a lot of different things of how people think. So sometimes that works for audiences, sometimes it doesn't. And then one thing that's on the slide that you can see as well is experimenting with different prizes. So some of you have probably run contests before. Maybe they weren't as successful as you wanted, and that's why you're here, to learn how to make them better. So playing around with different prizes is a great way to figure out what really speaks to your audience. So what Chris said earlier, you have to figure out how they think and what actually captures their attention and makes them fill in their email address and complete those other steps in the contest.
Yeah, no, I think that's right on. Yeah, I think in my experience, giving away your own product or service tends to work better for product companies, where you might be giving away, if you make handbags, giving away one of your handbags could possibly be a nice incentive. Although I like your point about, is it a good thing or not to give something away for free? There is. I agree that there are, especially if you're like a high, maybe more of a premium brand, and your products tend to have a higher price tag. Not your products. You might not ever want to give something away for free. So Nathan has a phrase about this. Do you remember what it is?
Yeah, so Nathan's with the hamburger.
Yes.
Yeah, so Nathan, our CEO, frequently says, if you're a hamburger company, don't give away the hamburgers, give away something complimentary. So the lettuce, the cheese, the ketchup, find what that is for your business, and then use that as the prize.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it as well. So awesome. All right, so let me, before we move on, I'm just going to take a quick look at the GoToWebinar questions. Before we move on, guys, any questions about planning and preparation for your campaign? Because next we're going to dive right into building your campaign and best practices for actually doing the creative work of your campaign. So any questions before we move on? Okay, great question from Caitlin. I'm going to see if I can actually get Caitlin live with us here real quick. Hey, with Heyo, we've unmuted you. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. How are you doing, Caitlin?
Good. So I was just asking, like, what would a good example be of a prize you can give away that's not one of your products? So if we offer success coaching, one-on-one private coaching for business owners, what would we give away besides a exclusive 1 hour like coaching or something like that?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to let Jay take a crack at that first, then I might add something as well. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of coaches that are using the platform to run contests. And one of the prizes that I've seen that's been extremely successful for some of those coaches is giving away a book that you might already recommend to people you are coaching. So say there's a book you recommend a lot, and you know that'd be very valuable for them to read. Maybe you have a couple different books that you recommend a lot. Giving away those as the prize, because in your sessions maybe you're recommending people read those already. The prize is something that would incentivize them because they know you've recommended that already. So
Right.
That's one idea that I've seen work pretty well in the past.
That's a great idea. I didn't think of that.
That was good and actually really applicable direct advice, much better than the rambling I'm going to do now. But yeah, I like that advice because anybody who, let's say you were a public speaking coach, anybody who wanted a book about being a better public speaker would probably be a good candidate. So that's really good advice. I've got one other thought for Caitlin and everybody else here as well, which is, an example I use a lot, Jay, and I know you've heard me use probably about 150 times, but I'll just use it now for the 151st. Is, let's say I'm a tax accountant, and I want to run one of these campaigns and get new leads for my business, and let's say I'm trying to reach, upper middle class adult males, right? And let's say that that I've got a particular demographic I'm trying to meet. Well, giving away a free tax consultation is like an easy crutch to fall back on. This goes back to like giving away your own product or service. But that's not necessarily the best prize. But, knowing this is why it's important to know your target audience. I might hit on something else like giving away a free round of golf at the local golf club, which doesn't have a lot to do with my business, but might also be a really good incentive and be compelling to them. So just another thought as well, but I think that's really great advice. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and we're going to move on. And great question, by the way, Caitlin. Thank you. We're going to move on and get beyond planning and prep and actually dive into how to create your campaign and how to do it, with the best practices and kind of do it in the right way. So I'm actually going to go ahead and dive right into our web browser here and talk about how to build out this campaign directly within the Heyo dashboard. Again, since we're all part of the Heyo family to begin with. So just to be clear, I am building out the sweepstakes campaign. I'd recommend that you, hopefully you're focused in on my screen so that you can kind of watch as I build along, and I'm going to highlight what Jay and I feel are kind of the best, the best practices and the best tactics for building a really successful campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save and start editing, and I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build out a campaign. And this is actually going to be a mirror of a campaign we highlighted in a case study just this week on our blog by a company called PureFloat. And PureFloat is a float spa. Does anybody out there know what a float spa is? Jay, do you know what a float spa is?
I don't.
Okay.
I heard you say it the other day, but
yeah.
No idea.
So you're gonna learn a little bit more today. But in this case, I'm gonna pretend I'm PureFloat and I am building out the campaign live. So what I recommend is here I am in the Heyo dashboard, and you've got as you mouse over, as you guys know, all these different little modules. You can see all the different pieces of the campaign you can edit. One of the things we've done is we've got this nice handy list over here on the right-hand side. I'd recommend just starting at the top of this list, and you can see if I just work through this list, you'll hit all the different components of the campaigns. That's literally what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to try to move a little bit quickly so that I don't take up too much time, but I'm going to try to give you a tidbit or two of advice for every single one of these widgets, and I'll ask Jay to also chime in when he's got some advice for us as well. So we're going to start with the header image, which you can see highlighted. That's basically where you want your logo to go. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the PureFloat logo. Now you can either, as most of you probably know, you can either upload these images directly to the campaign, or if you already have them online somewhere, you can just paste in the URL like that and have the image just populate for you. So I think the only piece of advice I'd give you here is, you want to make sure that the right pieces of this landing page really stand out. And the most important thing you want to stand out are this hero image right here, which we're going to get to next, and then the actual entry form right here. You're going to want to really stand out and be really obvious. So the only thing I would recommend is to make sure that you don't have any loud colors, particularly red and orange, or a lot of red and orange in your logo. Now, if you have an orange logo like Heyo, that's okay. I might recommend either using a black and white version of your logo or just a different shade. We have a light gray version of our Heyo logo that we use digitally because that orange really does draw the eye. That orange and red spectrum we call the alert spectrum. That's really kind of the only advice I would say, other than just making sure you use a really good image file for your logo. So Jay, unless you chime in, I'm just going to move right along. But so let's keep going to the next one. So I'm going to hit Save Changes. So the next thing down is the contest end date, the contest countdown. So as far as getting the right length of contest or the right length of campaign, it kind of depends on what type of campaign you're going to run. For the sweepstakes, I usually like to recommend, and I'll give my opinion, I'll ask Jay for his as well, I usually recommend keeping that to about 1 to 2 weeks maximum for running the sweepstakes. Gives you a good amount of time to make sure you can get your marketing out there, keep people excited, but not have it go on too long so that people kind of lose interest. But Jay, what do you think about campaign length here?
Yeah, I mean, you hit exactly what I would say. Usually I say not to go too much longer than 10 days, but 2 weeks works as well. But around 7 days really does get that urgency factor behind that countdown, and that's the reason why it's on there.
Awesome. Yeah, 20 days is too long. Let me make that a little. There we go. There we go. We'll make it a little over a week long, about 9 days long. All right, so that's really all there is to say here on the countdown. I will add, though, that a new feature we launched recently is you can change all of the labels on this campaign. So let's say, if you're in Canada and you're running a campaign to French speakers, or if you're overseas and you're in Europe or Asia and running a campaign and you want to run it in a different language other than English, right here you can see under my selecting date and time there's this little link called labels, and I click that drop down and I can actually change all the labels of the clock, which I know is really helpful, especially for our international customers, so I just want to point that out. So I'm going to go ahead and save changes and move on. Now this next piece is really important, the sign-up form. So a couple of recommendations here. One is we have a number of integrations here with different email marketing services, and I got to tell you, Jay, it's good to see this list growing.
Yeah.
This is the longest I've seen it.
And real quick, folks, if you don't see your integration platform on there, go ahead and pop it into the GoToWebinar questions so we can see what other ones we may need to build next. So if there are a lot of you on certain platforms, those are the ones that we'll work on next. So go ahead and put that in the GoToWebinar questions.
Good call, Jay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, April says my Emma. Jackson says Entreport. But Chris knows this already. Hey, Jackson, I sure do. Great, thank you. Keep those coming, guys, if you have any recommendations. So we do integrate with a bunch of these services already. I'd recommend, so if you use Aweber, Constant Contact, MailChimp, Campaign Monitor, MadMimi, Infusionsoft, go ahead and make sure you sync to your email marketing system. And this will come into light more as we move on with the webinar and talk a little bit about post-campaign best practices. But right now, as you're setting it up, make sure you sync it to your email marketing service if possible. If not, that's okay. You'll just click this downloadable CSV file option. We'll collect those leads for you. You'll be able to download them into a CSV file and upload them to your email marketing service. So a couple of thoughts here on the entry form. The first is you can add whatever fields you'd like on this entry form just by clicking this Add Field option. Okay, so we can add more fields to this campaign, no problem. We can have email address. We can add, let's say, first name. We could instead of last name, maybe we want to collect phone number. Maybe that's important for us. So we do have the option here to add as many fields as we want. Jay, what are your thoughts about adding additional fields? Is that okay? How many is too many? Any thoughts on this front?
Right. So as you can see, you can obviously edit and add as many fields as you want. One thing with that, the more fields you add and require is almost putting up a barrier to entry for people. So the more information they have to give, the less likely they are to enter. If you find that there are certain fields that you absolutely need for your business, go ahead and put them on there. But the reason we have it just with the email, with the setup how it currently is because that'll maximize the results for you. So if you want to put a couple other fields on there, you think they're necessary for your business, feel free. Don't go too overboard. I'd say 4 or 5 tops, absolutely. But the best way to get the best results is just the email address.
It's a good call. I totally agree. I think it's great to ask for name and other information, and if you really, really need that for your business, and I mean really need it, then you should ask for it. But I would say that it's a universal, it's a law of the universe, the marketing universe, that every additional field you put on your form, your opt-in rate or your conversion rate will absolutely decrease. So keep that in mind, folks, as you're filling out this form, that the more data you ask for, the fewer opt-ins or the fewer conversions you're going to get. So keep that in mind. So basically that's the form. Let's go ahead and to Jay's point, I don't really need phone number. I might like to have a lot of information. I might like to have phone number, but I'm going to take that out for our campaign. The other thing I would tell you is this little orange button right here is probably the most important visual item on your campaign. This is really what you want to stand out. So let me hit back on a principle I just touched on earlier. In the digital space, the orange-red color spectrum, those are your alert colors. You know, just visually and psychologically, we as human beings are attuned to that color. I mean, that's why stop signs are red when you're driving. That's literally why we make stop signs red, because the human eye is attuned to that color, and that is the alert color, right? So that orange-red spectrum, you want to use very lightly when you're designing something for digital, but this is one of those times you want to use it, right, Jay? You know, so basically that's the reason we have this nice bright orange as the default color. So if you want to change this button color, that's great. You can do that right here. I can click this. I can change my orange. I could make it more of a red. I could make it a nice pink. But you want to be thoughtful about what color you use here. The other thing I'll point out is you can also change the call to action on that button. It's right here under button text. And I would recommend making this a nice clear call to action and making it a little bit bigger, actually. So right now it just says enter. I might just say enter the contest. There. Wow. Now that button's that much more visual. It's that much more eye-catching. So you want to make sure that that button really stands out. I've probably beaten that enough at this point, driven that one home. But you want to make sure you get that button right. Take the time to do these little things. So yeah, those are really kind of some best practices for you on the actual opt-in form. What I will tell you to just kind of round that out is, you know, whatever you put as the copy or the call to action on the actual button, think of it as finishing the sentence for the consumer. I want to blank. I want to enter the contest. I want to enter to win. I want to get the free ebook. But whatever you put in that button should really complete the sentence, I want to X for the consumer. Cool. All right. So that's the entry form. We spent a little bit of time on that, but that's pretty important. Share settings are next. And this is pretty important to get these right as well. So let's make sure we put the right share data in. So we have the opportunity, first of all, to put in the Facebook page for our business. And this is for the Facebook page like option. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in the URL to the PureFloat Facebook page. Now I want to do this because, again, when people click this little like button, which is step 2 on the entry form, I want to make sure they're liking my Facebook page. This link to share and tweet field, I would highly recommend leaving blank, because if you do that, as you see by this note, we'll default the share to this campaign landing page. So when somebody clicks to tweet or clicks to share on Facebook, we'll automatically share this page, which is really important. And then the share and tweet text, you know, can be whatever you want it to be. I'm going to put this in here for my float spa. Win free yoga float membership from PureFloat to stay healthy in 2015. This is the text that will pre-fill, and this is what you would want consumers to be able to see on Twitter and on Facebook when the campaign is shared. Okay. Again, you can click labels and change the labels here as well if you want to either just change the copy or possibly translate to another language. So I'll hit save there as well. All right, now here comes the contest image. So this is the big one, Jay. As I go ahead and paste this in, you want to share maybe a thought or two about what type of image should go here and what should it communicate? Any thoughts on that front?
Yeah, so obviously you should somehow feature what the prize is in that image, so they're reminded of why they are walking through and giving you their information. So having the prize itself, so say this prize in particular is getting $250 to the yoga studio of your choice and a full year membership. So that's showcased in the text there. Obviously, if you just saw the picture of that girl sitting on a dock by a lake, you wouldn't really know what's going on. So having an image of the prize itself, if that makes sense, or if you can highlight that with the text on the image, that's very valuable as well.
Cool. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, I totally agree. Here's what I would tell you. This image is going to be the first thing people see when they hit your campaign page. I read a study recently, and I wish I could cite it more appropriately or more specifically for you, but I read a study recently, and I've seen it cited a lot, saying that the human brain, this is a pretty big number, the human brain processes images 60,000 times faster than it processes text. What do you think of that, Jay?
That's pretty unreal.
Yeah. So is that? I believe that's accurate. We certainly do process images faster than text, whether it's 60,000 times or not. But basically, we view something visually, our brain gets it so fast. So using a picture that communicates what you want it to communicate. I agree with Jay. I think often a picture of the prize itself would be great, especially if the prize is something product oriented, like a piece of consumer electronics, or a handbag, or any product that you're giving away, a gift basket, something really specific. It's good to just feature that product directly in the hero image, and we certainly do that a lot, and we see our customers do that a lot, which is awesome. Sometimes, especially when it's a service like this, and I picked this specifically because it's a little bit more nuanced. We also want to make sure we're communicating and connecting emotionally with our customers or our fans in this case. And so, a float spa, I'll let you guys, I won't go into the details of what a float spa is, but it's a new thing. And so we worked with this campaign. We actually helped Pure Float build this campaign. And we worked with them to pick a hero image that, to Jay's point, communicates the prize with some copy overlaid over the image. And to be honest, there's a lot of copy on this image, more than we normally would do. But also that we picked an image that sort of communicated the emotional aspect of the campaign. In this case, Float Spa is about having some peace and having some quiet moments, and is kind of almost like a meditation Zen type activity. Basically something I need very badly, Jay. So in any case, we just need to open a float spa in Blacksburg, yeah. I guess, or somebody does. But that was the idea behind this campaign. You can see the call to action: win the gift of peace and tranquility. That sounds pretty nice. And then it goes on to describe what one lucky winner will get. But that was the idea behind this. But I would agree that you want this to get, you want this campaign and this picture in particular to really quickly, visually communicate exactly what the prize is about, whether it's the object, the item itself, or just the emotional element of what you're giving away. So that's the idea here behind the hero image. I see a good question from Karen, and Karen says, how do they get extra entries for sharing? So Karen, great question. In this case, the customer wanted to give extra entries for sharing, and basically what we would advise there, and there's a little bit of manual work on the back end when you do this, but Twitter and Instagram are both public, meaning Twitter, you can search any tweet, and you can search a hashtag or a URL on Twitter and see whenever it's been used. And with Instagram, same thing with a hashtag. I can go do a hashtag search on Instagram and see who's dropped that hashtag. So in this case, the client actually allowed people to Instagram or regram, if you will, the hashtag and the contest URL, or tweet the contest URL and hashtag. I think they just used hashtag PureFloat, and they were able to then search that on Twitter and Instagram and manually award more entries. So that is possible. It takes a little bit of extra work, but it definitely, for them, they got quite a few entries. They got a few on Instagram. They got quite a few mentions on Twitter by doing that. All right, cool. Anything else on the hero image, Jay?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. I will say one last thing, I guess, because I have a loud mouth and I talk a lot. But I like a nice bright hero image. I won't say that like a darker image is a bad thing, especially if it's just kind of on brand for you. But nice bright colors on the image always are really appealing. And that's going to play well as we get to talking about the Facebook newsfeed here in a moment as well. All right, finally, the last thing is the contest description. We won't go into a lot of detail here, but I can basically add and edit any kind of text I want here in this little text area. This is really the perfect place to clearly articulate what your contest rules or terms are. If you want to talk more about the prize, if I wanted to add caveats to the yoga studio, $250 credit to a yoga studio of your choice, if I wanted it to only be in my city, or if I wanted to add other information, this is the place to do it. Don't try to jam all of that information onto your image, because you don't want too much copy there, just a little bit of copy. As I said, I think this one's even a little bit heavy, quite a lot of text on it already. but this is really the place to do it and add those extra add that extra information. Okay, cool. So that is really, in terms of just building out the campaign, those are really the best practices. The next thing we're going to talk, meaning the page itself, the next thing that we're going to talk about is kind of off this page, but still here in Heyo. So if you'll look on my screen right now and follow my mouse as I move to the upper right-hand corner of the screen, once I've gone through this list and I've updated all the widgets, if you will, of my campaign, you're going to want to go up here to the Options tab. And this is really important, and I'm going to explain why. You're going to click on Options, and you'll see you have a few kind of behind-the-scenes things that you can edit. The first one is your page share metadata right here at the top. Now, page share metadata, that kind of sounds very technical, Jay. So here's how I would describe that. So really, this is what information share your campaign on Facebook. What picture does it pull in? What words, what content does it pull in? And within Heyo, you have the ability to customize this, and I would highly recommend that you do that. All right, so let me go ahead and show you exactly what to do. You'll want to put in the title that you want on Facebook. So I'm just going to call this Free Yoga Membership. You're going to want to put in a description, and you could use the same description you use for the share settings, which just kind of makes it easier, and I'm going to actually do that here as well. And then I think potentially the most important thing here is it's really smart to create an image that is specifically for being shared on Facebook. You know, the ideal image size for a Facebook share is 484 pixels wide by 252 pixels tall. That's the ideal size for a link share image. So I'm going to show you right here. We created an image which you can see aligns visually really well to the hero image. Has less copy, which is good, but also kind of communicates emotionally what the prize is, what the incentive is. So I'm going to go ahead and go back here, and I'm just going to paste in the URL to that image. And then I'm good to go. The other thing, you've got some other options here as well. I'll point out you can change the background color. You could even upload an image to set as the background. You can add a tracking script or any other kind of pixel or tags that you want. So if you do retargeting, or you want to put in a Facebook retargeting pixel, or you work with AdRoll, or if you want any other kind of script or HTML tags to run on the page, you can paste them here. And then the last thing, and a lot of customers may not realize this, we sync directly with Google Analytics, which is free and really awesome for giving you lots of great reporting on your campaign. Who's visited it, where they're from, how long they stayed on the page, what kind of device they were on when they went to the campaign. So I'd highly recommend, for free, going over to Google Analytics, creating a little Google Analytics profile, and you can just paste what's called the UA code right in here for your campaign and get more really good data about the campaign, which is awesome. All right, did I miss anything, Jay?
I don't think so.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead and save and preview our campaign. We've got it all set up the way we want. I really love how that reddish button kind of pops. I think that works really well with the kind of nice, cool blues and greens throughout the rest of the campaign. Once my campaign is ready to go, which this one is, I'm going to go ahead and click Publish. So I'll just click Publish now. I'm going to go ahead and print this to a test page so you guys can see it. And Heyo is going to give me back the smart URL for my campaign. Awesome. So I'm going to grab that smart URL. And I actually want to show you guys Facebook. Boom, there it is. Their post that sets up when I paste in the smart URL for my campaign, and I can type whatever status update I want here now. Check this out. Not very imaginative, but that's okay. So let me go ahead and click Post. Looks great, and that's going to look great in the news feed. So what I'll tell you is the reason we love the link share post, and you get that simply by pasting in the URL for this campaign, is it sets up this post on Facebook. It's got all the, I don't have to customize anything because I've already done that within Heyo. Anywhere somebody clicks on this page, it's going to take me straight to that campaign landing page, which is going to look great and it's going to work really well. Cool. So, all right, I just talked a lot about creating your campaign and what best practices to follow. Let me hit the pause button for a moment and ask you guys if you have any questions for Jay or for me. So, take a moment and pop any questions you might have directly into the GoToWebinar questions. Karen says, wow, love the metadata info, did not know about that. Yeah, Karen, we launched that a few months ago. There's a nice help doc on it, I believe, on support.heyo.com, which kind of details exactly what we just told you. But yeah, that's really helpful and makes sharing that much more impactful. Okay, Thomas asks a really great question. He says Facebook is limiting the number of feeds that these get fed to, and just to let me make sure I understand you, Thomas. I think what you're saying is, hey, Facebook's limiting the number of my fans that actually will see a post like this. How do I make sure I get more views so it spreads? So first off, Thomas, what I'll tell you is using a link share post, creating a post just like I did like this is a great first step. Posting something that's text only, and Facebook has actually come out and told us this, posting something that's just a text-only status update or an image, for a business does not get as much visibility as this type of link share post. So that's the first step I would tell you, Thomas. The other thing I'll tell you is, the more engagement you can draw from this post, and what we find is these types of contests generally get pretty good engagement. So the more engagement you get, the more visible it's going to be to your fans and their friends, which is also a good thing. If you're still not getting a lot of reach on these posts, I think, even though I know it costs a little bit of extra money, don't be afraid to go ahead and just promote this post to your fans and their friends, which I believe is an option if you just click boost on the post from Facebook. I know it stinks to have to do that because you don't want to have to pay any additional dollar. However, I think it's, these are your best potential customers, and I think it's great to be able to do this, or to be able to do that and make sure it gets in front of them. So we've got a lot of other questions, which maybe we can pick up one or two here. Carolyn says, thanks so much. This webinar is so clear and helpful. Awesome. Really glad to hear that, Carolyn. Kara asked a great question. She says, I might be ahead of the game, but how is the winner chosen? Great question, Kara. So first we need an entry. So let me go ahead and enter Jay into our contest. Jay, did you know that you were going to enter this contest today?
No, but I hope I win.
Yeah, well, you might, since you're the only entry. So, okay, cool. We're going to enter Jay into our contest. Awesome. So now let's go back over to Heyo, and just to answer Kara's question, this is another new feature that we've built. I'm going to go ahead and refresh our Heyo dashboard here. So here's my sweepstakes that I launched for PureFloat. Here's the option to download the CSV. If I want to get to my leads, I can click that, and we can email that CSV to whatever email address you'd like. Over here to the far right, I've got a little drop-down arrow, and if I click that, one of my options is pick a winner. I click pick a winner, and lo and behold, look, it's Jay Tucker. So right here, I can click pick a winner. I'll get this pop-up. Kara, at random, Heyo will pick a winner for you from your list. If for whatever reason you're not crazy about the random winner that was generated, you can click pick again. Strangely here, it's just Jay every time. But that's because he's the only entry. And then I click notify winner, and it'll actually just set up a little email for me to be able to notify the winner, which we're not going to deal with right now. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Awesome. So there are lots of other great questions. I'm going to move on and talk about one or two other things, and then I think we'll just dive right into Q&A, Jay, because I want to make sure we save a little bit of time for that. Let's flip back here and just talk about one or two other things before we switch to Q&A, though. we talked about promoting the campaign on Facebook, making sure you use that link share post. Again, the ideal images for that link share post, or I should say the ideal image size, is 484 pixels wide by 252 pixels tall, or at least or a larger size image that has those same dimensions. You want to make sure you keep the copy on that post concise as well. And again, the more engagement on that post, including from you, the better. So if people are commenting on that post, if they're sharing it, if they're excited, jump on and engage with them as the brand a little bit. Don't, as we say, fire and forget. Don't just fire the post off and not think about it. Engage with your fans. One last thing I want to point out as a best practice that is really, really awesome is making sure you use really strong email follow-up. We integrate with all these great email marketing platforms. We're building more of those all the time. Here's an example of another business that uses Heyo called Solo Stove, and they're an online business that sells camp stoves and related accessories. They're great. And they've really hit it out of the park with email marketing. On the left side of my screen, hopefully you can all see this, Solo Stove setup, a really great thank you email that got fired off as soon as somebody entered their contest. They got this, or excuse me, this isn't it, but they had a thank you email that went out immediately and said, "Hey Jay, thanks for entering our contest. Stay tuned. We're going to be announcing the winner in the next 2 weeks. By the way, here's a link to our website if you want to check us out." After the contest wrapped up, they sent this email on the left side of my screen. "Hi Jay, our recent Solo Stove giveaway sweepstakes has come to an end and the winner has been posted. Unfortunately, you didn't win this time. However, we plan to run more, so stay tuned. And then at the end, as a token of appreciation for your entry, we'd like to invite you to enjoy 10% off your next purchase." They gave a coupon code and a nice big, not surprisingly, orange button that takes you directly to their online store. This was a really smart strategy that helped Solo Stove make revenue off their new leads, from their new leads immediately, which was really awesome. And as you can see here, they also have followed up and run other contests and have followed up an email. And by the way, I have these emails because I am an outdoor enthusiast myself, and I love Solo Stove and I follow them. And so they use Heyo, and so I get all these emails, and I've been really impressed with their email marketing. Any other thoughts, Jay, on just kind of email follow-ups and best practices there?
You basically touched on it all, but having that promo code there is how you're actually going to convert these email leads into revenue. So that's a really smart practice. I just wanted to reiterate that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think this could easily be part of the pre-campaign planning as well. When the leads come in, what are you gonna do with them? Awesome. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So I want to ask one thing from you guys. It's been about 45 minutes since we started the webinar. I'd love to hear from you, yes or no, in the GoToWebinar questions. Were there at least 2 actionable things you've learned so far from Jay and from me today? Were there at least 2 things you learned so far? If so, type yes in the GoToWebinar questions. If not, type no, and constructive feedback is welcome. If you're not learning anything from us, then we better make some changes, Jay. I don't know.
And let us know what you'd like to learn if you haven't learned anything.
Yes. All right. Awesome. We got a lot of great yeses. Hillary, yes. Kelly, yes. Linda, yes. Chris, yes. Carolyn says yes, at least 2 or about a dozen. And thank you, Carolyn. That's really awesome. Carolyn, there are 2 Carolyns on. Another Carolyn says yes, always is. Joel says the follow-up email example is really helpful. Joel, I think if I remember correctly, Joel, you're with, I want to say it's Boko Living, if I remember correctly. You'll have to tell me if I've got that right or not. But I think I'm using one of your products right now, that really cool clip for loose leaf tea. Yeah. Yeah, you saw me tweeting a picture of it.
Yeah.
It's a great product. Joel, I hope I got the right guy. If not, this is probably. Oh, he says yes, I am. Okay, good. Yeah, Joel, it's awesome. I love it. So Doug, Caitlin, everybody says yes. Okay, I'm thrilled. So I've got one thing I want to let you guys know that's just kind of a nice little special gift we've got today before we go on and do more Q&A, which we're happy to do. So I've got a special bonus today that are for all of our annual plan customers, which I know that most of you are. So what we've done is all the best practices we've talked about today, the pre-contest planning, picking the right prize, building out the campaign, and what to think about, we've rolled those into a PDF guide. And everybody who's on the webinar today who's an annual customer will get this guide automatically. You don't need to do anything else. Because you attended the webinar and you're an annual plan customer, we're going to send this to you. And it's really awesome. We've included step-by-step instructions on how to do a lot of the things we talked about today. We've got 5 great example campaigns where we do a quick profile of the business, give you a screenshot of their campaign, let you know how it performs so you can get some ideas. We even created, I'll show you, this is pretty cool. We even created some nice email templates for those thank you emails and the email you want to send after the giveaway is over, so that you can have those as well. And here's another snapshot of some of the things that we've added into this PDF. So this is just for you guys, for all of our annual plan customers, so you can take this away today, and I hope you really enjoy that. Now, if you're not on an annual plan yet, that's okay. There's still time to get this bonus if you want it. All you have to do is go to heyo.com/annual. Make sure you're logged into Heyo, by the way, and just switch to annual billing. If you're on a monthly plan, you're paying every month. This would just have you paying once per year instead. And the cool thing about it is it's actually cheaper. So for instance, if you're paying $30 a month right now, you're going to pay $360 over the course of the year. If you switch to annual billing, you'll pay just $300. So you'll get a couple of months free, and you'll get some nice additional bonuses like this. So if you guys have any questions, or if you try to upgrade to annual and you get stuck, feel free to just let us know in the GoToWebinar questions. We'll help you out. But we're gonna send this out to everybody on today who's an annual plan customer. All right, cool. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in and take some more questions. Jay, do you have a few more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So so folks, let us know what questions you got about today. If you've got other questions about marketing on Facebook or running one of these campaigns or building a good landing page, feel free to shoot those right now. Now, if you've asked a question already, I'd recommend going ahead and popping it in one more time for us so that it kind of gets bumped to the top of the inbox, if you will, so we can see it. But let us know what questions you have, and we'll go ahead and take a look and see if we've got. Okay, Doug asked the question, if Google Analytics is already set up for your website, how do you grab info about the campaign to appear in Google Analytics? So Doug, what you need to do is set up another property, another website under your Google Analytics account, and just call it, Facebook campaign or Heyo giveaway or something like that. It'll Google Analytics code, and then you can go ahead and paste that directly into Heyo, into that Google Analytics field. Hopefully I answered your question. Okay, Jonathan asked a great question. He says, what is a link share post? I actually want to show that to everybody. Many of you might already know that, and that's cool. But I want to go ahead and show that one more time to make sure it's really clear. So if I go, let's go ahead and grab this same, let me go ahead and grab my smart URL again. So if I go to Facebook, and I just go right to where I type in the stat, something like, hi, I'm on Facebook. Instead of typing a message, if I just instead paste in a URL, and I can do this with any URL, Facebook's going to go to that web page and pull in information about the web page. So because I pasted in my Heyo campaign, it automatically brought in the data for my campaign. And I can customize this. I can click Upload Image and swap out the image if I want. I can click on the copy and I can type something new. But since we've already set that up, in Heyo, it's good to go. But that is what a link share post is, and it links out, if you will, to that website. So if somebody views it on their Facebook newsfeed, they're able to link out to it, link out to your campaign very, very easily. Kelly asked the question, could you please send a copy of this webinar? Yeah, so we're recording today's webinar, and we'll absolutely send a copy out to everybody who's on the webinar today. Question about best practices for using the form that it's a oh, the form thank you redirect link. I see. Okay. So yes, so with Karen's right, within Heyo, if I go back into our campaign and I click on the little entry form right here on the left-hand side, one of my advanced options, if I click the drop down under advanced options, is to set a thank you page URL. It's right here. I can add in any URL, and when somebody enters your contest and clicks enter, will automatically be taken over to that URL, to that website. So you could put in a link to your e-commerce site, you could create your own thank you page, you could do whatever you want there to direct folks to the thank you page that you want. I like the idea of having a specific thank you page. You can always take them directly to your website. I don't know, Jay. I think that sometimes that's confusing for people. If I'm entering a contest, all of a sudden I'm taken to a website. Maybe not, but I guess it could be. Any thoughts on this front?
Yeah, so my only thing with the thank you page, although you can provide a URL to drive them to after they've clicked enter or whatever you change that button to, the only thing with that, although it opens in a new window, sometimes it takes them away from those built-in share features, which are helping to organically market the contest for you. So that's one thing to take into consideration. If your end goal is, yeah, I already have their email, I'm paying for ads, I don't need to worry about these, I don't know why you would think that, because obviously you want people to share it for you. But if you have something else you really want them to be driven to, that's when you would use that thank you page URL. But like I said, they won't probably come back and use those organic share features, which are a huge part of that organic marketing virality to this contest for you.
That's a great point. And they're certainly less likely to do that if they're taken. And the thank you page will open in a new tab, but we all know how attention spans are these days. So for consumers, so that could be tricky, I guess. Cool. That's great. All right, I'm just looking at a couple of more questions here. Kelly says, I took notes for the information I needed. Thank you, guys. Kelly, it's been awesome having you on the webinar. If you've got to run, we understand. Joel asked a great question. He says, is it beneficial to have the campaign posted on your Facebook page versus having it as a standalone web page? So yeah, I've got some thoughts on this, but Jay, you want to go? Any thoughts from you first? What do you think?
Yeah.
Is there a benefit one way or the other?
There are, everyone thinks differently. Some people have weird feelings about clicking links that take them outside of Facebook.
Yeah.
So keeping them on Facebook and having that page hosted directly on Facebook sometimes helps you with conversions. But I'm sure you probably have some other insight. But that's the main thing that I think about when thinking of not having it on Facebook. Some people might feel weird about that, so I think it's better to just keep them on Facebook.
Yeah, I like that. If you're going to be doing a lot of marketing on Facebook for your campaign, which most of our clients do, not all of them necessarily, but many of them do, then I agree. Then I think having it on Facebook makes a lot of sense. If you're going to be, Joel, if sometimes we'll have clients come to us and say, I've got a big audience on Google Plus, and they're just really anti-Facebook, and I don't want it to be on Facebook. There are use cases for having it be web only. The other thing, Joel, that web only version is good for, you can iframe it if you want into your own website or into a WordPress post or anywhere that you want. You could iframe that in. It's pretty simple. It's responsive. So the web version is also really good for that. But I don't know that I wouldn't say there's a best practice outside of Jay's point, which is that if you expect most people to be viewing your campaign from Facebook, I'd say make sure it's on Facebook. I agree with that. We got a great comment here from Ryan. He says, can I get a shout out to Ryan? Yes, Ryan, of course you can. Ryan's a proud and satisfied Heyo user, he says. Smiley face. From Seekins Ford Lincoln in Fairbanks, Alaska. Ryan, awesome. I actually spent a whole summer working on a cruise ship going up and down the Inside Passage, believe it or not. That feels like a lifetime ago, but it was a fun summer. All right, cool. So I think we've just about got questions wrapped up. It looks like we still have a couple more minutes. So, you know, if you have a last-minute question, feel free to go ahead and pop it into the GoToWebinar questions. I want to reiterate one more time, guys. If you look at my screen, just look at my screen with me for a moment. We have recorded today's webinar. We'll be sending that out along with this great special bonus of the complete guide to running a successful campaign on Facebook for our annual customers, our annual plan customers. If you are not on an annual plan yet, that's okay. It's a really smart idea to go ahead and switch to annual billing. First of all, we'll definitely send you this guide if you upgrade to annual today. Since you were on the webinar, we'll go ahead and send it to you. It's also cheaper to actually be on annual billing, so we'd highly recommend it. And to do that, you just go to heyo.com/annual. Make sure you're logged into Heyo when you do, and you'll see this screen, and you'll just go ahead and switch to annual billing. If you try to do that and you run into issues, go ahead and just email us directly at support, S-U-P-P-O-R-T, at heyo.com, at heyo.com, support at heyo.com. So please go ahead and do that, and again, we'll be sending that out today to everybody who's an annual customer. So I really hope today has been helpful for all of you. I hope that you've learned a lot of really good best practices from this webinar. Jay, any kind of final thoughts or just words of advice to folks, especially if they're running their first campaign?
Yeah, so just following these practices we've told you today as best you can. I know some of them may seem like small things that, you know, maybe you don't want to spend the time to, you know, create that perfect graphic or whatnot, but they really can impact your results. So taking the time to make sure you plan ahead of time and have everything set up, ready to go, will really help get those better results, which in the long run will help grow your business and bring in more revenue.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. Thanks so much, guys, for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate you being customers of Heyo. If there's anything we can do to help you from here on out, I'd recommend visiting support.heyo.com or just shooting us an email straight to support@heyo.com to let us know. And if you've got other feedback for us about today's webinar, we're going to stick around here for a little while longer on the GoToWebinar questions. So feel free to shoot us any other comments or feedback if you've got questions about the bonus today for annual customers. Like I said, feel free to go ahead and shoot those our way. But thanks so much for spending some time with Jay and me today. Thanks so much to Alex again for helping manage all the questions. I think he did a great job. If we could all give him a silent round of applause, that would be awesome. And guys, we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
See ya.